Week doesn't go by when you don't sit behind somebody in their car and you see people just tossing them either out of their car or just along the way.
Cigarette butts are the most littered item in the world, and I think you hit on something right there. I think this is part of the smoking habit for a lot of folks, and individuals surveyed, 77% of those individuals did not consider throwing a cigarette butt on the ground littering. And I think that is one of the messages we want to get out there is, cigarette butts are litter too. This is something that's against the law in the city of Fredericksburg, and there is a potential hefty fine with that. And the city police department will be enforcing this going forward.
Michelle, in the world of cigarette butts, picking them up, there's a new kid in town.
There is. Thanks to Keep Virginia Beautiful, we now have 30 brand new cigarette butlers that will be distributed to all Fredericksburg city parks.
This is a big problem. It's a big problem in parks. It's a big problem everywhere.
It's a huge problem, especially in areas like our riverfront parks and here at City Dock, because it's a popular place, evidently, to sit in your car and smoke, or perhaps to fish and smoke. And when the river rises, guess where all those cigarette butts go? They go straight into the river. And that's a problem. It's a problem because these cigarette butts do not decompose. They're plastic, and they may break down over time, but then they turn into something that's called microplastics. You can Google it, and it's really gross. And eventually it ends up into all of the critters that inhabit the river. And if you like eating fish from the river, you might get some plastic along the way.
That's disgusting.
It's gross. It's gross.
There are so many of them, like you say, and I've seen different times when groups have gone out and picked them up. Yeah. Just in a city block, yeah. It's amazing how they fill up a bag.
Yeah, when we have an annual river cleanup, and when we're down at, let's say, any of the riverfront parks, and we have a component that they just concentrate on cigarette butts, and more than likely these families or volunteers have never done that before.
Yeah.
And they tell me, they're like, we couldn't believe, once you start looking for cigarette butts, you will find them everywhere, and they'll come back with a huge bag just from a parking lot. And it's a big problem, and these are all areas that flood, and it all gets channeled directly into the river, or if it's not by the river, they make their way into the drainage system, and that all flows into the river, and then that all goes down to the Chesapeake. So it's a problem.
Look over Blue Gray Parkway, where cars sit before they make that left-hand turn on the Lafayette Boulevard. Mm-hmm. I'm amazed at that. And you think when you get a lot of rain, they're washing down, and they're eventually, I guess, get down to here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cigarette butts are really one of the biggest, most littered item on the planet.
I like these containers, the new ones. I mean, they kind of blend in, but you can get rid of their cigarette butts right in them, and they do the job.
We hope so. They're wonderful, and thanks to Keep Virginia Beautiful, they were free. So we're excited to add them to our arsenal of cleanup items in town. You may be familiar with the lovely Butts Are Litter Too buckets that you see. We call them butt buckets. They're downtown, all over. And this is something that the Clean and Green Commission does. But we're really hoping to transition from these buckets to something like this, something that's more permanent. You don't actually see the butts, and you probably won't smell them as much either. So we're really working towards something that's a little more permanent.
And I guess the thing is, because we all are behind cars that they just toss them out. You hope that the education finally starts paying off, and that the people get the word on this.
I hope so. I mean, these butt buckets have been sort of a stopgap measure. We have a few of these permanent pieces, on the trash cans, but they're expensive, and just figuring out the logistics of who's going to empty them and take care of them. And the containers are all very different. Some have been sturdier than others, and we're finding that out. But we're hoping that, it catches on, and people will dispose of their cigarette butts correctly.
Well, thanks to the Clean and Green Commission, because you guys do a lot of education, and this is one where a lot of education certainly is needed.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you walk downtown, you'll see in all the tree wells, you'll just see butts accumulate there, and yeah, it's an issue. not only does it look bad, but it's just horrible for the environment.
Special thanks to Mike Baum, Executive Director at Keep Virginia Beautiful. We're very excited that we'll have these installed in the city parks and have a means for folks to dispose of their cigarette butts. This has been an issue that the Clean and Green Commission has worked on for years, and we're continuing to work on it. And it's a real economic issue for downtown. Studies show that when you have cigarette butts on the ground, it really is a problem, economically, and has a real economic consequence in terms of decline in business development and tourism.